Welcome to the S.O.S, the NFL show on the S.O.S podcast network. Feels like we've been gone for a while, but it's only been a week, and what a week it was. Once again, this is the NFL show on the Sauter on Sports podcast network. I am Mark Sauter. He is Joe, and it is great to be back. Lots to get into from week 10 in the NFL, as always. And also, as always, we will look into week 11 and our favorite bets for the upcoming slate. Before we get into the ads, before we get into all that good stuff, first, the pleasantries. Joe, how we doing on a football Thursday, brother?
Oh, we're feeling good. We're feeling good. Listen, everything is just feeling very nostalgic. I'm seeing the same similar teams at the top of their divisions. It's 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, so you know you're gonna get a Lions game. You know you're gonna get a Packers game. You know you're gonna get a Cowboys game in there somewhere. Should be a good time. But this last week's been very interesting.
Yeah, to say the least. And just to your Thanksgiving point, I am, I guess, technically half American, with my dad being from the States. I love living in Canada. We can get into a conversation about the political landscape of both of our countries at a different time. But by and large, I do enjoy living in this country, except for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the one time where I just get, I don't know, FOMO or what it is. Like, you guys take basically the whole week off. There's sports on every day. It's just a beautiful, beautiful holiday. And Christmas is like a month after it, where here in Canada, not even everyone gets the Monday off. And it's at the beginning of October. And I guess hockey season starts on the same weekend, so there's that. But I don't know. Something about American Thanksgiving makes me feel a little left out.
Yeah, I mean, I like uh I like where they have it. You know, every fourth Thursday, you just know it. It's going to be right there, and you know, companies are starting to come around and giving you the Friday off too, which is pretty awesome. Some people don't even have to ask for it now, and I appreciate that. I appreciate them wanting to stimulate retail spending by not having to work and just give you the whole day off to shop.
So it I thought that everyone just had the Friday off.
Oh no, that is not
Always.
the case.
Unless it was like you worked at like a mall or
We
something.
wish. No, not everybody gets that courtesy, but more and more companies are starting to come around and giving you that Friday off automatically. I am not one of those people. However,
Okay.
I am requesting it off. So I will
Love
be
it.
off, but I had to ask for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first weekend of October. We get the Monday off. And if you're rich, you probably get the Friday off too. But if you're not, you're working on the
You're working.
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're working on the Friday. But absolutely love it. And it's crazy, man, because like American Thanksgiving um is is an interesting time in sports, because in football it's like, okay, literally there's a month left of the season. This is where it gets to the nitty gritty. In hockey and basketball, it's like, this is like the kind of point of the season where you kind of know your teams and you kind of know what the teams
Yeah.
are going to look like moving forward. And it's always that, well, we'll find out, American Thanksgiving. But anyway, I digress. Everyone, again, welcome to the NFL show. before we get started into looking back at the week that was, just to let everybody know that this show is brought to you by First Round Collectibles. Right now, with promo code SPORTS10, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire First Round Collectibles store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off selected cards. And with our promo code SPORTS10, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. That means up to 60% off selected cards in the First Round Collectibles store. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Promo code SPORTS10 for up to 60% off your order. And as always, Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media, shout out to them for having us on board. Anything you want sports related, whether it's game previews, game reviews, news, betting, fantasy, DFS, all that good stuff. They have you covered. And Total Apex Media, pretty much everything else, whether it's pop culture, whether it's health, fitness, lifestyle, TV shows, gaming, they got it all. Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media. All right. I got a couple hot button topics that I want to talk about, Joe, looking back to the week that was. I do want to kind of put it in your corner first, because, you know, we're talking about in the other sports, you know, like American Thanksgiving is kind of the threshold where we know or whatever. We're past halfway point now for the NFL season, and a lot of pictures are starting to round into form. You have the picture in the AFC West where the Chiefs started the way they started, and now, you know, it was always, well, the Chiefs, they'll be there at the end. They'll be there at the end. Well, they're 3 games back from the Broncos now. And, you know, the Colts have been doing what they're doing and all these different stories. Quickly looking back, the Broncos, speaking of, just got past the Raiders 10-7 on Thursday night. Colts beat the Falcons 31-25 in a game that the Falcons should have won. Where was that game? Berlin?
Yes, Germany.
Yes, Germany. Saints, the Panthers. Every time we try to pump the Panthers tires, you beat the Packers and you lose by 10 points to the Saints. Bears beat the Giants 24-20. Texans beat the Jags 36-29. Again, in a game that the Jags should have won. Dolphins just destroy the Bills 30-13. Have something to say about that later. Ravens beat the Vikings 2019. Jets beat the Browns 27-20. Patriots beat the Bucks 28-23. Seahawks over the Cardinals. This was crazy. So I was out of the house. I was plowing snow in the afternoon slate, and I was listening to the Sunday Drive on Sirius XM. Excellent program. If you're out and about, you can't watch a game. Excellent channel to tune into just to kind of get the lay of the land. And I'm listening to the radio, and they're covering all these 3 games. 44-22 for the Cardinals, 42-26 for the Rams over the Niners. Sorry, Seahawks over the Cardinals. 42-26 over the Rams, or over the Niners were the Rams. Lions 44-22 over the Commanders. And what's funny about that is the Rams-Niners game took a little bit longer to get carried away, a little bit longer, but for the most part, all those games were over after like a quarter and a half. Like, it wasn't even close. Like, it was just a tire fire from the opening kickoff. But that's a quick look back at the week that was. So I want to put it in your corner. Lots of different storylines that we can kind of lean on here. Where do you want to start after week 10 and entering week 11 in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, this argument versus the in terms of like the MVP award and how it's just always been considered a quarterback award, because very rarely do we ever see anyone outside of a quarterback win the award. we gotta talk about what Jonathan Taylor's doing for the Colts, okay? And we had the same argument last year with what Saquon Barkley was doing for your Eagles last year. As far as what he's doing, I mean, he is on a tear, like on a tear, and you slide in that little that little small bad game that he had against the Steelers. By all intents and purposes, he's been killing it just about every game this year. Okay, he's got games of 165, 153. This last one against the Falcons, 244, with not only an 83-yarder in the game, but also the game winner in the game. So it's kind of like he's on such a tear right now that it's entirely possible that we place him at least in the argument, even though we know he's not going to win it because again it's typically been a quarterback award. But what he's doing is really just crushing it for them, and it really just allows Daniel Jones to just be more confident because he knows who he has back there, and it makes him even more of a threat because if you're not going to let him run, like he's liable to run, like he can keep it. Like Daniel Jones, let's not forget, man, against your Eagles, he was about 10 yards from the end zone run for like 60 something yards if he didn't trip on the 10-yard line. But again, I digress. He just he's the fulcrum that makes this whole thing work. And I think he's definitely on pace to be offensive player of the year. Like it'd be shocking to me if he doesn't end up with offensive player of the year at the end of the year.
That shouldn't be a question.
Health
And
level.
I do want to know from your perspective because, and again, most of the people watching, I have a feeling, not to, generalize. I don't mean to be disrespectful to our faithful viewers, but I'm assuming most people don't care about this, but I do, and it's like my show, so I'm gonna say what I want, I suppose. This is a conversation in the NHL for the Norris Trophy, right? The best defenseman of the year, where it's become this award now. And I know this is different context, but it's become this award now that goes to basically the defenseman who has the most points. Is basically what it is. If a defenseman has, 80, 90 plus points, he's probably going to get the Norris, where that's not what a defenseman is always needed for. It's a bonus, and we're in a day and age in the NHL where you almost need a guy who can put up 70, 80 points from the blue line. But being a defenseman is being a defenseman. It's about being a defenseman. Yeah. And so they're clamoring for different awards to separate the two or whatever. When it comes to what you're talking about, most valuable player means most valuable player. And I get it. The argument is, well, Saquon has the offensive player of the year award. So that's what that's for, which doesn't really jive with me. Like I guess, right. But if that's the case, then why don't you give the most valuable player the most valuable player? And if the best offensive player aside from the most valuable player is a quarterback, then why don't you just give the offensive player to a quarterback? You know what I mean? Because right. What JT's doing right now, don't get me wrong, there are very, very good quarterbacks who are playing like it right now. I think I haven't checked the odds. The last I checked, Matthew Stafford was the favorite to get most valuable player. I think Drake May's up there as Drake well.
Slid into the favorite.
He is now,
the end of this week. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
I think he took the smallest odds this week.
And rightfully so. And rightfully so. However, what JT is doing, man, he's having, I think arguably, but maybe not even arguably, he's having maybe a better season than Saquon did last year. Saquon got the yards, but I think he only got 13 touchdowns. No, I don't think he had, which is obviously like a lot, but
Well,
I
I
feel
mean,
like JT's already blown past that.
you also have the tush push that's probably robbed him, and Kenneth Gainwell, who probably
A
robbed him of
a
of
hundred
several
percent.
touchdowns. So
A hundred
I mean, he
percent.
very well could have had 20 plus if they really
That's
wanted to
very
run him
true.
into the ground. And there have been cases where they've been like super up in a game, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, no, let the young guys eat, let the young guys eat," and he's willing to just chill back there and just watch them finish the game. So yeah, I mean, he could have if they really wanted to. But
That's true.
to your point, I mean, no, I mean Taylor's having an amazing season, and he's definitely on pace to at least reach 20, I would think. He's already at 15, so he 15 and what 10 games, 11 games, like yeah, he could definitely hit 20 easily, especially when he's hit 3 in a game 4 times already this season. Yeah, it's definitely looking like a 20 plus season as far as touchdowns for JT.
Absolutely. All right, moving on. I mean, like we talked about Drake May. Let's go there. The Pats beat the Bucks 28-23. There, I don't know if there's anybody still having this conversation, but if there is, the conversation's over. This Pats team is for real. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I also, compared to what's going on with the Buffalo Bills right now, I do think
Yeah.
that they're going to win the division. We can have that conversation as well. Now, the Pats schedule is still far more favorable than the Bills schedule is. But what it felt like early on in the season, it felt like Drake May was awesome and the Pats were winning. But it really does feel like this has turned into a complete team effort. I feel like the defense has been phenomenal. There that I mean, you talked about it last week. That running defense is just outrageous. Um, and the way Drake May, what I thought was impressive about the win last week was early on in the game, Drake wasn't really Drake. He was sailing balls. He was missing receivers by a considerable amount. He didn't look overly comfortable. And it just felt like this was one of the games that the Bucks are just going to find a way to win. Um, sorry, sorry guys, give me a sec here. There we go. And it just was impressive to watch in the rain and all that. Just Drake kind of find himself throughout the game and pull off the victory. And even more so, we've talked about it on the show the whole season. Baker, you just never count him out. And not only were they able to keep him from coming back, but they were also able to tack on, one more score for themselves. Where are you at with this Pats team and specifically that win over the Bucks last week?
Well, what's great about what the Pats are doing right now is that they've won just about any way you can win. They've won the tight ones. They've won blowing people out, like the Panthers game. So like they're just continuously finding ways to win. And to your point about the team effort, listen, this was one of the teams in the offseason that were always in the market for a wideout and in market for a playmaker. And we're starting to see the improvement in his play is now elevating people already on the team, like Pop Douglas, like Kayshawn Booty, like these guys who were on the team last year. They were on the team last year, but they weren't getting that. Um, they were always being overlooked because of what the product looked on the field, and but you could kind of see glimpses of what May could be, like if got an adult in the room, like a Vrabel, and then a guy who can orchestrate an offense better than most in Josh McDaniels. I think that fusion right there, them being on the same page, so to speak, is really clicking right now to where he's elevating talent already on the team. And then you got a guy like a journeyman like Matt Collins getting 100 yards in a tud last week. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a real team effort, what they're doing. And listen, Vrabel's got a vision. He knows what he wants. He invested very heavily on the defense, specifically and in particularly the defensive line, and getting a guy like Milton Williams from the Eagles. That run defense is stout. It is no joke. It is not. It's serious work that they're doing on the line of scrimmage right now, to the point where Drake May is he's the leader in the clubhouse right now as far as the MVP is concerned, and that's a testament to what Vrabel's brought to this team. So I'm inclined to agree with you. Not only is the schedule favorable because they have the Jets twice still, um, but just with what we've seen from the opposite end of the spectrum as far as the Buffalo Bills run defense, um, their schedule with it still being stout towards the end, they can get run over, and that's going to be a serious problem for them if they're going to want to try to close this gap that they have with the Patriots. So I'm in line with the Patriots. I love everything that they're doing. I think Vrabel's really got a pulse on this team. I love what he does at the end of the game and just giving high fives to everybody on the way into the locker room before he speaks to the
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
I think the vibes are you think about what that locker room was like last year with Gerard Mayo and what you heard happening inside the building, like as far as just it felt like that there was just a disconnect, um and what's happening now, it's night and day. Night and day. That's a locker room that believes. That's a locker room that's producing. Now, granted, they spent a lot of money. They brought a lot of new players in. I'm not saying that that's not part of the issue, but they just seem to have it clicking on all cylinders right now.
Yeah, 100%. A team that does not have it clicking on all cylinders. And I love, I, how do I say it? I am in love with talk radio. Okay. Specifically sports talk radio. I love it so much. It is one of the things that got me into doing this. It got me into going to school for radio. It's my passion. I love it to death. And one of the reasons why, especially national sports radio, again, I was um plowing over the weekend. So at 4 a.m. when you're out there, you're in your tractor, you're plowing snow, you've already went through all your podcasts, you've already went through all you got to listen to is just national sports radio. It's the only thing going on. And CBS, Infinity Sports now, I guess. I can't remember who does that overnight show. And it was great. I thought it was a lot of fun to listen to. I thought he did a great job. No disrespect. I just love how quickly we go from Aaron Rodgers is the reason why the Steelers are above 500. This defense has been an absolute joke. And if it wasn't for Rodgers and this offense, this team would be abysmal or whatever you want. How quickly it goes from that to this guy needs to retire immediately. He is washed. He is over. He is done. The Steelers are done. This is a joke. Where are you landing on this? Because as much as I don't believe you can go from one extreme to the other that quickly, that game was awful, horrendous. And with the Ravens coming, right, they're whatever, like nipping at the heels, as it were.
Yeah.
Just double checking exactly here where
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
like
getting
they're
back.
4-5,
They're right there.
right?
Yeah.
Like they're 4-5.
Hmm.
Steelers 5-4. Where are you at with Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because again, I don't think you can go from he's had a pretty good season to he needs to retire. That feels very quick. But it feels like we're pretty close to that.
Well, I mean, they're right on time for me. I mean, they're right
Yeah,
on time. You
you're,
got to think about it.
you're right.
They're right on time. Okay, so you see
Yeah,
them,
you can
beat the Patriots. They beat the Vikings, and you're thinking, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute, right? And then you have a game against the Bengals that they should have won, right? Definitely should have won. There's no way you should lose to the Bengals with um, whatever number quarterback that they're on now, the third and Flacco. There's no way you should be losing that game. Um, and then that, now they've lost 3 of 4. And so now it's like, oh, okay. So what are they really? What are they really? Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out because this stretch that they're about to go on, that includes the Bears, that includes the Bills, that includes the Ravens, who they're trying to hold off. We're going to get a really good idea as to where they're headed as far as the long term's concerned. But they're right on time. And you know who else knew that? The books. Vegas knew they were right on time too, which is why Ravens were still the betting favorites to win the division because this is
yeah,
textbook Pittsburgh football. They're going to start off hot and they're going to be like, "Oh, wait a minute, they could be a problem." They're going to hit a mid-season swoon and then they're going to back their way into the playoffs at somewhere around 10 or 7, 9 and 8 depending on how the AFC is looking and a first round exit. That's textbook Pittsburgh football. And that's assuming they make the playoffs because they may not. They could finish 9 and 8 and not make it. And it would be textbook Pittsburgh Steelers football. So that's where I am with it. Listen, some weeks it's the defense, some weeks it's the offense. They made a switch in the defensive backfield, moving Ramsey over to safety off the nickelback position. They picked up Asante Samuel and Jr. and we'll see what he has left in the tank. Graded pretty high as a cover corner. His issue was tackling, and with what we've seen from that Steelers defense lately, that's a really bad thing to not have in your arsenal is tackling.
yes.
So we'll see what happens. I think I don't want to get this wrong, but I think he had a similar surgery to what Peyton Manning had in his transition from the Colts to the Broncos, a fusion surgery of some sort in his neck. So we'll see how that affects him. But for me, um, he's got to be ready because he you don't want him to be another myriad of reasons why the Steelers don't end up making it a season for themselves. But if he can help, Rodgers just needs to be more consistent offensively. He can't turn the ball over, and that's something that he never used to do until he got old. And when he got old, and the line in front of him became less trustworthy, he's been taking a little bit more risks as far as his intermediate and short passing game, just in an effort to get rid of the ball faster than the rush will get to him. Um, that's made him a little bit more reckless with the football in the last couple of years.
It does remind me of Tom Brady's last year where you did um throughout Tom Brady's career, you'd see him, pissed off and steaming mad and coming over to the sidelines and chewing guys out. And then there were iPads eventually and, throwing iPads and getting all
Oh
mad.
yeah, yeah.
And
There were
then,
fines for that. Yeah, I remember that.
and then, yeah. And
Yeah,
then as the
NFL equipment.
season went on, they found their way, or as a particular game went on, you trusted that they would find their way, they would listen to the old man, and they would get the job done. And that was the way it was for a lot of Rodgers' career as well. Well, now that coming off steaming mad and all this. It just has less of a, it does, I don't know. There isn't that, like, it just doesn't feel like, and listen, I'm not a professional football player. I'm not on the bench. It just feels like there's not as much of a, yo, that's Aaron Rodgers yelling at us. We gotta snap out of it and figure it out. Like, it doesn't feel like that. Where with Brady, it's like, yo, that's the GOAT. Like, we gotta, it just doesn't feel like the aura of Rodgers is the same. Well, again, for professional players on the sidelines who do this for like their living, that might be a completely different story. But that's how it just feels, sitting on my couch.
Well, I will say that the last couple of years of Rodgers' career hasn't exactly inspired confidence, right? And
No.
we'll wipe that, first season with the Jets because that was 4 plays, and who's going to be able to inspire confidence with that? But in that in itself, him being that fragile now, because he is older. He, like I said, the way he plays football is a little bit different, and he's having to get the ball out early, and it's you know you could talk about placement, but I will say one of those picks wasn't entirely his fault. Literally in Calvin Austin's hands, boop, in the other
Yeah.
team's hands.
Yeah.
So
True.
and that's got to be part of the issue, because they wouldn't have been shopping so hard for another wide receiver during the trading deadline if that wasn't a known thing, that hey, we need another guy. It's almost like they, had another guy already and shipped them to Dallas. So, I mean, that guy was there. He was on the team when Rodgers was on the team, and they decided to go in a different direction. So it's kind of funny that they were shopping for a second wideout, but I think maybe they were expecting a step up from guys like Roman Wilson, from guys like Calvin Austin III. They were expecting those guys to, advance their play, and they just haven't seen it, or at least the consistency of it hasn't been seen. So, that's part of the issue. We'll see what happens. Rodgers is he's gonna keep slinging it, and maybe at some point they lean more on the running game, get Warren and Gainwell more carries. Maybe shift the ratio a little bit more into the run heavy, because that play action is always going to be there with Aaron.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. All right. There's a bunch of more things to get to. The Seahawks, the Rams, and the Lions, we will be talking about those games later in the show. So we'll save that for then. 3 other quick things that I want to get to before we get to the betting portion of this show, and get you guys all set up for Thursday Night Football and Week 11. Now, these 3 things, 2 of the 3, I'll just be straight up. 2 of the 3 are negative. I'll just call it as it is. One of them isn't positive necessarily, but it's a conversation. Which way do you want to go first? Do you want to go a conversation first, then 2 negative back to back? Do you want to do 1 negative, 1 conversation, kind of sandwich it?
Surprise me.
All right. I think that Sean McDermott is not the coach to bring the Buffalo Bills to where they want to go. I think the ship has sailed. You don't want to be too extreme after a loss like that. This is the National Football League. Anything can happen. However, I think there should be some concern in Buffalo right now. I do. I think that, James Cook is the guy. He's the dude. He's a terrific running back. And you have Josh Allen. I don't think he really trusts any other pieces that they have right now. I think defense, the injuries are starting to catch up, and the guys that they do have back there are it's just not working. And to me, I think there's some questionable coaching decisions, whether it's whatever. I think when you get blown out by an inferior and once again, losing to the Dolphins is one thing. Remember the first time these two teams played, it was a lot closer than we all thought it would be. Um, Losing to the Dolphins is one thing, but losing in the fashion that you did, for me, I always look back to coaching. Like there's no way that you were 100% prepared for that game and laid an egg as bad as you did against a defense that's as bad as, and not only a defense that's bad, a defense that traded away their best defensive players. Like they literally lost like Jaden Phillips just like a few days before.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, so just quickly here, they lose to the Dolphins, then they beat the Chiefs, which they do every regular season. They put a beat down on the Panthers, which you should if you're the Bills. You lose to the Falcons in a pretty rough game. You lose to the Pats in a pretty rough game. And other than that, you beat the Saints, the Dolphins, the Jets, and you squeaked by the Ravens in a game that you should have lost like half an hour before the game was over. I just don't. In that context, the one impressive win really was that win against the Chiefs. If you're looking at the opponent, if you're looking at the records, if you're looking at this isn't a team, they don't have the pedigree to be the Chiefs and just mosey their way through the season, get to the playoffs, and go to their fourth straight Super Bowl. They don't have that. They haven't earned that. And so to me, I just look at the wins that they've had. Like all of these teams, like the Ravens now look like they're going to make the playoffs, right? With Lamar back and like they're looking pretty good. But the Jets, Dolphins, Saints, Falcons, Panthers, they're all missing the playoffs. All of them, in my opinion, but I think it's a pretty factual opinion. I just think that to me, it comes back to coaching. I think there's a lot of reasons why. You can look at the head office, you can look at whatever, but he's been there for a really long time. And to me, I don't know, man. I can't get much more in depth like than that. It feels like he's pushed all the buttons he could push, and this feels like another season where you get to the playoffs and it's just not going to go your way. And speaking of the playoffs, like right now, Indy 1 seed, Denver 2, Pats 3, Pittsburgh 4. That 4 spot's going to be that division more than likely. You have I almost said the Clippers, the Chargers 7-3, in the 5th spot. Buffalo in the 6th spot, 6-3. Jacksonville 5-4 in the 7th spot. Kansas City 5-4. Houston, Baltimore 4-5. Like, I don't know, man. Like Buffalo might not even make the playoffs, which sounds like a crazy thing to say, but they got like the Bucks this week, like at home. They have the Texans, Steelers, both on the road, then the Bengals. Then you have the Patriots, the Browns, both on the road, then the Eagles, week 17, and the Jets at home. I think the Chargers are a team that can't really be trusted, right? With the injuries that they have. I know that they looked really good on Sunday night, but with the injuries that they have, that looks a little bit Jacksonville certainly can't be trusted. But KC, like they're KC. Like, why wouldn't you think that they're going to find their way,
Yeah.
back to one of those three spots? And then you have Houston, Baltimore, which Houston, listen, man, we've crapped on Houston all season long. They look good right now. They probably should have lost to Jacksonville over the weekend, but they didn't. They found a way to win, and they put up a bunch of points. And correct me if I'm wrong, but Stroud wasn't even playing.
Yeah, and he's not going to play this weekend either. So, um, bonus to
I'm
them, they got the Titans. So, I mean, if he's not going to play, this is the game not to play.
right.
But yeah,
Maybe
no,
I'm
you make
maybe I'm being dramatic, but like I'm officially worried. And what's funny, real quickly, we said this in the preseason shows. For years now, I have not believed in the Buffalo Bills. I just haven't. I have had my reasons over the years. I just have not believed. And this was the year that I put them in the Super Bowl. This was the year that I finally bought in and I finally believed in this team. I've said it for years, whether it's on this show or other shows that I've been on. This Buffalo Bills team, they are a very good team that will prove to be fraudulent when it matters the most. And I chose this season to believe in them. And here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they said you're too late. You're too late for the train.
Yeah.
They didn't want you on board. So, no, I'll say this. It, a lot of what you say about McDermott is a lot of the same things that that people have been saying about Harbaugh. And you say, that, McDermott and these Bills don't have the cachet, um, to be able to, coast the regular season and just get in. Well, I'm pretty sure the expiration date on Baltimore Super Bowl um has expired. I'm pretty sure they don't have the cachet to be coasting through the regular season, and like there was real thought that they might not even make the playoffs, as bad as they were, and now they've rattled on three straight. They've got the toys out of the locker room courtesy
At
of the
least with
quarterback, and now now they're at least they're in a division where they know the team that was on the top would come down to them. All right.
And at least they had the excuse. Now their defense has been abysmal. That's a whole different thing. Not so much lately, but it was for a lot of the season. But at least they had the excuse that one of the top three quarterbacks in the league was hurt for a majority of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, few games. Long enough to think that, and it's not like they won a lot of those games. So, um, I'll say this: that there was serious doubt that even when he was on the field, whether they were going to make some noise or not. But it
That's
definitely
fair.
didn't help when
Yep.
he wasn't. Um, but I'll say this: to your point about having the cachet, the Baltimore on the other side, which I took. You took the Bills, I took Baltimore.
Yep.
And we both have been sweating it out the last several weeks, just kind of like, oh, I'm over here on the side of are we back, and you're on the side of I should have just stuck to what I knew. I should have stuck to what I knew. And what I knew is that this team would end up somewhere around 11-6, 12-5, and lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs. That's been the MO for the Bills for the last since they entered the conversation. Now, what I will say to your point about having the cachet and being able to coast, listen, they've won the AFC East massive consecutive years to this point. The problem with their situation this year is that one team has caught up and now surpassed them as
Yes.
far as where they're going and where they're trending. So now that luxury that they have where hey, if we just finish above 500 in our division, win our division, we get a spot in the playoffs. that guaranteed playoff spot is in serious danger. And yeah, they
Big
have
time.
one more game against the Patriots, but I'm looking at the Patriots right now, and I saw what they did against the Bucks, and I saw what they did against the Bills in the first game, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, this is different. This is a
Oh yeah.
whole different thing. That this is a whole different animal that we're playing here. And now you've got a whole building that are bought into the new culture. They're winning consistently. They're on a tear right now. They they may argue they haven't played maybe their most complete game yet against top tier talent. Um yeah, they beat the crap out of a team, earlier in the season. They had like 40 points, but like against the upper echelon, the Bills, like what they did with the Bucks, they may not have played their most complete game and they came out with victories in those two games. So when you're just finding ways to win, even when you're not at like 100%, like you're not playing 100% well in all phases of the game, that's a problem, especially for a team that has such a glaring weakness like the Bills do in their run defense, that they can just be under siege at any
Mhm.
point. And who knows if Ed Oliver is coming back this season. I can't remember if they placed him on the short-term IR where he can be back in 4 weeks, but you can
Yeah, I don't
clearly
think
see
they
him
did,
not
but
being in the middle is a massive problem. Because while they
oh
have the
yeah.
pass rushers on the end and Greg Rousseau and Joey Bosa, up the middle is free and clear. And those safeties coming up, not great. To the point where they had to dig in the well and go back to the past and bring back Jordan Poyer back into the team. So you can tell it's a serious, serious problem. And Jordan Poyer will tell you he's not the Jordan Poyer of old, okay? And granted, it's only been 2 years since he left because he had that little hiatus with the Dolphins last year, but he's still not all pro like he used to be. So the fact that they had to tap that well and bring him on board says all you need to know about what they feel about the back end of their defense. So that tells me that they're grasping for answers. They turned the ball over a considerable amount of times against the Dolphins, and that's also concerning. So are they pressing? I don't know, but they don't have the margin of error that they used to have with the Patriots cooking the way they are.
No, they don't. And not only that, like, well, actually, to your point, the Patriots, and this is talked about on, every show, football show that's like, running right now, but the Jets, the Bengals, the Giants, the first and last of those three games are on the is at home. Those are the next three games for the Pats. Then you play the Bills and the Ravens. Bills is at home, or Bills are at home, and the Ravens are on the road. Then you close out the season with the Jets and the Dolphins. Now the conversation happens. Well, the Dolphins, the Pats might not need the game and rest their starters and blah blah blah. But that's the schedule, right? You got the Jets, the Bengals, um, the Giants, the Bills, the Ravens, the Jets, and the Dolphins. Meaning, and again, I know it's the National Football League. Anyone can win on any week, blah, blah, blah. But really, there are two games that really concern you, right? I think the Bengals game is concerning just from the sheer fact that the Bengals can score points, right? And you're going to have to keep up. Now their defense is also horrendous, but you're going to have to keep up. Like that's going to be a pretty high scoring affair more than likely unless you can shut them down. And since the Bengals running game isn't overly trustworthy anyway, that does feel like a game that the Pats can win somewhat handedly. But not only is your margin for error thin, but it's also thin just due to the fact that the Pats don't have a lot of losses coming up, at least on paper,
Right.
right? So that's going to be really something to look at. All right. Really quickly, we want to run through these next two topics and get to our betting week. The last topic you're going to want a little bit of time for. I already know it. So we will brisk through this topic. You were talking about how the Bills had just won the division over and over and over again, and that, guaranteed playoff spot is now in danger. Well, the same can be said for the Kansas City Chiefs. 5-4, Chargers 7-3, Broncos 8-2. Broncos plus 130, Chiefs plus 150, Chargers plus 310. Where are you going?
If I had to choose, man, I gotta say the Broncos, right? Like when you can figure out that many times how to win a football game when you probably shouldn't have, like the fortune favors the bold apparently, and they've just been very, very fortunate. And I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I'm thinking to myself, man, if they get past these Chiefs this weekend, um, it could get a little tricky. But you got the Raiders on the schedule, you got the Jaguars, I mean, who trusts the Jaguars, right? Raiders, Jaguars, Commanders is there's more than likely going to be Mariota in there. Not to mention that you have 2 weeks to
Yeah.
prepare, which you probably only need one. Um, so I'm thinking to myself, I mean, I could very easily see them 12-5, and you got the Chiefs at 5-4 now. You're telling me they got to get 7 more wins to even get the tie? That Christmas game becomes very, very interesting, especially if they lose this first one. So, um, yeah, call me crazy, but give me Denver. I might be taking Denver there.
Yeah. No, I I really wanted, like, they're only one game back. I would love to take the Chargers just with the injuries on both their lines, and it's just hard to kind of go that way. But
Yeah, I
um
agree.
yeah, man. And I mean, like you said it, like this question might be a little bit premature just because they do play each other, right? The Denver Broncos and the Chiefs this
Twice.
Sunday.
So the
So
first one this
um
Sunday, and then they got another one down the road. Christmas.
right. So it's a lot more in the Chiefs' grasp than the standings would suggest, just
Mhm.
because like they do play them twice. But it'll be really interesting to look at moving forward. All right. We're at 53 and a half minutes. Let's go 6.5 minutes. We'll get up to an hour, and then we'll go over our bets. Brian Dable fired. The New York Giants, my mistake. Ooh. New York Giants. Felt inevitable. I feel like with Dart hurt, um, it was even more inevitable just because I feel like the only reason really why you're keeping Dable around is to kind of develop this um, quarterback. And if he's not going to be playing, then like, what's the point? Um, I have yet to hear a Giants fan say that he shouldn't have been fired. I'm curious if you will be the first. This conversation was going to be twofold because if Russell Wilson was named the starter over Jameis Winston, and I'm an Eagles fan, man, I should care less, but I would have lost my mind. Like, why? Like, they were winning that game and they put Russell Wilson in. Like, I think, if I remember that correctly, like, why Jameis Winston has not played more this season in favor of Russell Wilson, I just will never understand. And even if you give me a very plausible argument, which you have earlier in the season, I still don't understand it. But thankfully, Jameis Winston is quarterback number 2 in the event that Jackson Dart is out. He already, I know I'm chewing up your minutes here, but he already, did you hear Jameis's, he talked the other day about the interview and started like singing Like
Yes.
he started
Yeah.
singing and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the best, man. We need
It's a
as
great
much
time.
Winston as humanly possible. But where are you at?
Absolutely.
They've all fired out in New York.
Yeah, I listen, I'm not surprised. And I listen, I don't love the reports when it's like some unnamed player saying, "Hey, this guy and this guy almost got into it," and this, that, and the other. And I hate unnamed sources. Put your name on it. What's the guy gonna do? Cut you? He's not on the team anymore. So just put your name on it. Um, but then again, it could, you know, seem like you're a rat, and I mean, so I guess I can see the other side of it, but like when I see unnamed sources, it just irks me. It just irks me. Um, as far as Dable's firing, listen, uh, the guy had 60, 61 games, and he had an amazing first season. And you know what? If that first season came a little bit later on in his tenure, maybe his rope would have been a little bit longer. But then again, maybe he wouldn't have even made it to that. So I think he caught lightning in the bottle with Daniel Jones one year, and they looked like they were cooking. And then the injuries, and then the turnovers, and then the lack of weapons around him, bad offensive line. You could count any number of things. Um, as to the reasons why this happened. But listen, you can't go 20 and 40 in this league and expect to still have a job. It's just plain and simple.
Yeah.
What I'm more upset about in that situation is that Joe Shane doesn't have a job either. Why does Joe Shane still have his job? The last two times we fired a coach, we kept the GM who hired said coach. And that is not the way you should do things, okay? Neither one of those previous GMs earned the right to be able to select the next guy that they were going to fire. So I don't know why they don't fire them both together, okay? You could very easily get someone inside of that front office that's not Joe Shane to do the day to day up until you decide to clean house in the offseason and start this whole thing over. And you know what? Maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe Joe Shane's gonna get the list, and he's actually really unbeknownst to him a lame duck, and he's just compiling this list for a coach he's not even gonna get to hire because he's gonna be fired the very day after the regular season's over. I don't know that. I'm not John Mara. I'm not Joe Tish. But what I can tell you is the vibes in that building with Jameis Winston starting has got to be lit. It's got to be a lit locker room right now because they
Oh my
know
god.
that guy, okay, they may not say it out loud, but they know that guy today, if you were to ask anybody with a brainstem, he is the better quarterback than Russell Wilson. Plain and simple. Now, is he going to give it to the other team a couple of times? Yes. The ball will not hit the ground as long as Jameis Winston has breath in his lungs. It'll either be caught by his team or the other team, but guaranteed someone's catching the ball. Someone in a jersey is catching the ball. You know what? The referee may catch one, okay? The ball won't hit the ground as long as Jameis Winston's throwing the football. That being said, do I expect more than one or two wins the rest of the season? Absolutely not. But what I do expect is that the team is still going to play hard. We're still going to go out there and be professionals. I just feel like the vibe is still going to be lit. Listen, we don't have Scatterboo. We don't have Dart for a little bit until he clears concussion protocol. Jameis Winston is the vibe. He is the guy in the locker room that's going to provide the vibe. And I think, oh man, I can't wait until that Packers game because I want to hear the going out there huddle before he sends them out to the field because you know it's gonna be clip
Oh,
worthy. You know,
oh,
you know it's gonna be clip worthy. The man's gonna quote some verse in the Bible and he's gonna be like,
shit.
it is a blessing to be on this field right now. And oh my gosh, bro! If he just throws one if just warming up on the field, if he throws one right on the crossbar like he did to get them out of practice that one day, bro, I'm telling you, at the least, the vibes are gonna be lit this weekend, and he's gonna
It,
go for 300. Slayton may get 100 yards. Wandale Robinson may get 100 yards. You know what? Out of the backfield, Devin Singletary might get 100 yards. Okay. And he's going to throw for 2 touchdowns, 2 picks minimum. and it's going to be a great time. It's still going to be a
Oh,
better product on the field than we saw when Russell Wilson was the quarterback. And that's all I
I
can ask for.
the chariots prepare for battle, but the victory belongs to the Lord. Just the best. Just
Bro,
the
I'm telling you, he's gonna say something like that, and it's gonna be great. The team's gonna be locked in. The team's gonna be locked in.
Yo, tell me, where are we at? Tell me if you can hear this. Can you hear this?
No, don't have audio.
Oh, oh man. I'm trying
If
to
it's the
play.
speech he gave earlier in the week where he quoted Hamilton, I heard it and it was amazing. It was amazing.
I was trying to play it. Typically, I can get it through the feed, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, but
I
see,
didn't prepare for it,
you know how I know they're gonna be locked in? Did you see the smile on his face when he knew he was gonna get to play football this weekend? Did
dude,
you
I'm
see
looking at
his
it right
face?
now.
His face just light up because he's gonna play. He's gonna play football this weekend,
And
and
like,
it's gonna be a great time.
dude, like this is, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful to the guy, okay? Like he has proven himself that are you going to get to the Super Bowl with Jameis Winston? Probably not. I
But you
do
weren't gonna get
think
there with the other guy either.
we talked about this in the preseason. I honestly think you can put Jameis Winston on a team and be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like squeak
Yeah.
into a wild card spot, probably lose, whatever. But if you're
Yeah.
a team like the Giants, this is why I didn't even like them getting both Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. Like
No,
to
I said
me,
this. I
if
thought it
you're a
was stupid.
team, if you're a team that has a low bar, Jameis Winston, man. The guy can play football. He's gonna give you some incredible victories. He's also gonna make you want to break your TV. But the energy,
Yeah.
the vibe of this guy, dude, it's second to none. Like I
He
love it.
I'll tell you this, just to give you a comp as far as like backup quarterbacks who've like proven to, be to provide starter level quality work. You look at Jacoby Brissett over with the Cardinals
Yes,
and what they're
yes.
doing. You could just clearly
Great
see
example.
the team. Now, has he won a lot of games while uh God, Kyler Murray's been out? No. But does the product on the field feel better? Does it
Yes.
look better? Do your skill position players play better? Do they feel elevated with him at quarterback? Yes. And I just feel like outside of that Dallas game, that was not the case for the Giants. Outside of that Dallas game, you couldn't convince me that that team was feeling great with him at the quarterback position. Shout out to Jordan in the chat. He understands. I told him in the group chat when we got Dart in the draft. I was like, you know what? I could totally live with a Winston Dart quarterback room. I told him that. I told him from the very beginning. He's like, you know what? I can live with the Winston Dart combination in the quarterback room. And then that news hit when we signed a 1-year deal with Russell. And I'm like, why?
No.
Why?
Yeah.
Why
It's
are we
ridiculous.
doing that?
And,
We have the
and, like,
caretaker quarterback already. What are we doing?
it just seemed to me, and again, this is my opinion for whatever it's worth. It felt like, okay, maybe we can be competitive with Russell, maybe we can whatever, but it's like, I don't know, man. And like, I'll just say this. I love it, and everybody in the chat, everybody, watching, everybody has different beliefs and religions and values and whatever. I love it when athletes openly talk about their convictions. I do. Not just about Christianity. If it's something that you believe in, that it moves you, I want you to talk about it. I like that. I want that. And so it's not the first time that an athlete has been so open about his faith, but it may be the first time that some guy does a deep dive on the Psalms and just quotes the chariots
Man,
prepare for battle. Like that, I
bro.
loved it, dude.
Yeah,
But the
man.
victory belongs to
I
the
love him
Lord.
so much,
Just
dude.
friggin'
Like me
awesome.
personally, listen,
Oh,
I don't know how many caretaker before we move on to our picks tonight.
yeah.
I don't know how many caretaker jobs are going to be available in the coming up, because obviously the Cardinals are going to have to make a decision on Kyler Murray and what they're going to do
Oh, yeah.
there. But the vibes are already kind of like heading Brissett's way, where they may bring him back on like a short-term situation, and then they're looking towards the future. I don't know how many of those like caretaker roles are going to be open for him, but whoever comes in as the next coach of the Giants, I strongly think you should consider trying to re-up Jameis Winston on a short-term backup role. I love him being in the building, and I would be completely comfortable with him being one snap from being on the football field for my football
Yes.
team.
And like, you don't like Dart is clearly the future.
Uh,
Okay.
without
Now
question.
there's no right. And so
Yeah.
to me, why like Jameis Winston is the guy you want. Like what you just said, dude. Like, not only is it a vibe, it's just awesome,
Yeah.
positive, uplifting, all that good stuff. But also, he is a a like talented, capable quarterback that
Yeah.
if your quarterback gets hurt, your season, it might not be what it was supposed to be, but it's not going to go just directly in the
Listen,
tank, right?
2 to 4
And
games, you can survive with Jameis Winston.
it's fine.
1000%. And your season could be saved.
I love it. I just think it's the best. That guy, I root for him so hard. And what was cool for me too, and like because like I don't know, man, like as an athlete, you want to win and you want to be the best. And for him at his point in his career, I think he has all the reasons to be like bitter and sour and whatever. And last year at the Super
Mm.
Bowl, like he's just running
Oh my
around with a
god,
smile
dude.
on his face.
All
That
over the place.
dude,
Like he could
that really
be
told me, man.
bro, he has a job in football for as
Oh,
long as he wants it.
yes.
For as long as he wants it.
Oh
Like
yeah.
the minute he's done, every single network is gonna want this guy after what they saw
Big
in the
time.
Super Bowl last year.
Big
Like
time.
he belongs on TV when he's done.
Big
1000%.
time. Big time. And then, if it's CBS or something, he'll get fired for talking about Jesus too much or something, but that's okay. I love it, man. Just the positivity on a guy who, knows that, like, he knows his role, like he knows, and he's comfortable with it. So
Yeah. Shout
absolutely
out to
love
Jameis.
it. Shout out
Try to make it
Jameis.
competitive this weekend.
The first thing, I literally was by myself on the couch when I saw that he was probably going to start. And I literally said the words out loud to myself, finally.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, obviously, when Dart's healthy, like, Dart's in now. But without Dart
Yeah.
there, like, finally, like, what have we been waiting for? But
It's insane.
anyway, all
I
right.
agree.
Let's move on to our picks for the week, starting with
Sure.
Thursday night football. Before we do, this is brought to you by First Round Collectibles, promo code SPORTS10 for up to 60% off your order at firstroundcollectibles.com. Promo code SPORTS10. You get 10% off of every order and up to 60% off selected cards. Firstroundcollectibles.com. Promo code SPORTS10. Up to 60% off your order, and Total Apex Sports and Total Apex Media. All right, here we go. New York Jets, New England Patriots. Patriots at home, favored by 12.5. That's minus 114. Plus 12.5 for the Jets is minus 106. Minus 820 on the money line. The Jets, they've won 2 games straight, right? What's the disrespect? I'm just kidding. Plus 570 money line for the Jets. The over 43.5. The over is plus 100. The under is minus 122. Where are you at? Jets, Pats. It's tough because like minus 12.5 is a massive number. And hey, the Jets have actually been scoring points lately. But I can truthfully say that I have not bet on the Jets yet this year, and I won't do it now.
And we are not starting
Question is, will I take the points here for New England? And I don't know about that either. What do you got?
Yeah, for me, that's a listen, in a divisional game, 12.5 is a little too rich for my blood. But what I will say is I would take a huge look into the team total for the Patriots. Because they've been scoring a lot on this run, and the lowest that they've scored on this run is 23 points against the Bills. But we've seen them put up 31, 32, 28 last week against the Buccaneers. I'd take a strong look at what the team total is for the Patriots, and I would take the over. I think this is a coming out party for them in front of everyone on the only game on TV today. They're looking forward to that mini bye heading into the Bengals on the 23rd. So they're going to have 10 days rest after this game. And listen, let's be honest about what the Jets are. They are a run first football team. And what do the Patriots do best? Stop the run. So if you're a run first football team and you're facing the best team against the rush, well, that tells me you're not going to be scoring a whole lot of points. So what that means for me, team total in play for the Patriots as far as the over.
I'll just say really quickly, Joe, sorry, 27.5 is the number that FanDuel has it at. 27.5.
Yeah, I'd buy that. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, the under definitely play also. Because it's very possible that the Jets don't score more than 3 or 7 points in this game. But my prop pick tonight's going to be Breece Hall's under rushing yards 58.5. He's splitting time with Isaiah as far as the running back position is concerned. And when you're facing the best run defense in the league, they know that the best player that's going to be on the field, because Wilson's out, is Breece Hall. And even with Wilson on the field, Breece Hall is the focal point of this offense, because the quarterback can't get it to Wilson. So that being said, they're going to have all hands on deck on Breece Hall. They're not going to let him beat them. They're going to force Justin Fields to try to beat them through the air. So Breece Hall on the under, and staying away from the spread. I'm taking either the Jets team total over or the under in the game, because I don't foresee the Jets scoring much.
The Patriots over, you mean?
Patriots team total over. Correct.
Yes. Well, you sold me. I'm taking the points, 12.5. I'm all over it for the Patriots. Now you just convinced me. I'm here for it. And I forgot that Wilson was out. I love that Hall under the over 27.5. I think I like that too. I don't like how good I feel about that over 27.5, but I am right there with you. Curious to see Henderson, man, because this guy projected to be a really big talent. But just they haven't used him all that much throughout the season. He's had kind of hit or miss, whatever. In my fantasy, so I'm in 2 fantasy leagues. One of them is a keeper, and I've had a guy try to trade me him all year long. Try to trade me him for my like first round pick next year. Try to trade him for a keeper spot. I'm just like, no, man, like I can't can't trade a keeper spot and a draft pick for a guy that I don't know what he's going to be doing. Finally, his quarterback got hurt. I had Matthew Stafford sitting on my bench. He traded me Henderson and Love as a backup for Matthew Stafford. Who Stafford, I wouldn't keep him on my roster next year, and I'm at the bottom of my league. So that felt like a pretty good trade to me. Curious to see what he does this year. All right, moving on. The Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know what's going on with my brain today. Maybe I'm just sick or whatever it is, but I keep on wanting to say Clippers. Chargers -3 over Jacksonville as my entire board resets here. All right. Chargers in Jacksonville -3, -105, +3 for the Jags, -115, -156 on the money line, +132 for the Jags. Over 43.5 is -115. The under is -105. This is your first game of the day. What do you got, Chargers, Jags?
Yeah, I got the Chargers -3 here. I may take it down to -2.5. The thing for me is that the last time we saw the Jaguars blow a lead the size that they blew against the Texans last week was against the Chargers in that playoff game, and it just feels like serendipity to me that on the heels of having given up a lead of that size last week, that they just happen to be facing the Chargers the very next week. And I just think, listen, the vibes might be a little low. Listen, Hunter's out for at least 4 weeks. They put him on the IR. We know what BTJ's been doing this season in terms of dropping the football. I do like ATN. I think he's solid. I do like what they're doing at the running back position. But the problem is, can't trust the quarterback. And if I can't trust the quarterback, can't trust the team. And so very simply, it's Chargers for me, minus the points. And I think that they can get got in the air. If you can let the number 2 QB for the Texans go off on you the way he did in the last quarter of that game, 249.5 is an easy clear for me in terms of Justin Herbert. So give me the Chargers minus the points. Give me Herbert over 249.5.
Yeah, I like both those picks. And listen, my betting strategy when it comes to the Jaguars is not recommended, kind of irresponsible, but I just fade the Jags and just hope for the best. It doesn't get much more complicated than that for me. I actually live bet the Texans. I can't remember the number that I got. It was pretty outrageous, like +500 or 600 or something like that. And I just knew it like this even
felt it in your soul.
it's $10. It's $10. Yeah. You know, I'll put $10 on the Texans and see what happens. The Jags. You don't even feel anything in your soul. It's just you just look at it and you're like, if any team, if there's any team that I should bet +600 against, it's the Jags. So I'll do it and I'll see what happens.
Or the Giants this season. Or the Giants. And I can say that. I'm wearing the shirt. I can say it. I'll say it for us.
I actually did have the Giants on Sunday as well, even before the game started, which was not a great feeling. But all right, moving along. Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off that tough loss against New England. They are in Buffalo, who is coming off an even tougher loss against the Miami Dolphins. My apologies. Here we go. Bills -5.5, -110. Bucks +5.5, -110 as well. -270 are the Bills on the money line, which to me is stupid. I don't agree with that at all. +220 for the Bucks. Unfortunately, that's begging me to take the Bucks here because that makes no sense. But as we've learned time and time again, the books know what they're doing. Over 47.5 is -110, and the under is the same. I've said it before, man. I don't know. Like I am kind of biased, and not biased towards any side, but I'm very biased. A lot my my bias aligns with how hard my feelings are against this Buffalo team right now. I just don't trust it. And Tampa Bay, they're a good football team. They're a good football team. They had a tough loss. They're definitely not the good they were to start the season, but I trust this Tampa Bay team. I don't know what the weather's going to be like in Buffalo by Sunday. It's gotten like all of the snow that we've gotten, and I live like an hour and a half away from Buffalo, and it has all basically melted now. So who knows what the winter conditions will be like or anything like that. Um, this is two extremes are at play here. Buffalo was so embarrassed that they are going to just rip the pants off the Buccaneers, like just destroy them. Or this leaves some residue, you know, and the Bucks take advantage and come away with the win. Either way, I am gonna take the points here with the Bucks, plus 5.5. I think that number's too high. I think like plus 220 on the money line is extremely tempting. But 5.5 points, that's enough for me. The Bucks, if they lose, they tend to lose close, and I'll take the 5.5 here for the Bucks. I don't trust Buffalo at all. Maybe I should be going money line, but I do think Buffalo. Listen, they're a good team. I just don't think they're getting to the promised land. But I think that the Bucks will keep this one close. Just the last point. It's what we talked about earlier with the Buffalo Bills is I don't think they can just make it to a Super Bowl. Like I really do think that this team is at a level where they have to win it. I don't think that just getting to a Super Bowl is a success anymore for this club. I think they gotta win it, and that starts with bouncing back from your worst loss of the season. That being said, I am still taking Tampa Bay plus 5.5.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Bucks 5.5. I before these lines even came out, I said to myself that if this line is anywhere over 3, that I was taking the Bucks, because it would have been too rich for me. Um, the Bills just are not. I'm unimpressed with them on so many facets of their game that I don't think this is a game against a solid team like the Bucks that they're going to be able to separate from. I just don't have faith in it. And with the fact that they're just under siege in the run game, and the Bucks have a stable of backs that can cook. Now I will say the lines aren't out for their running backs yet, and I think that's just because they just don't know if Irving's going to play or not. But even with Rashad White, even with Sean Tucker, like this team can be put under siege with running against them. So I think with that being said, I think the Buccaneers are going to want to control the clock. I think they're going to want to keep the ball in their hands and keep Josh Allen on the sidelines. And so with that being said, I think if the Bills win, it's going to be by no more than 3 points. I think it's going to be like a one possession, could be 7. We may get a backdoor cover, not sure. But yeah, give me the Bucks plus 5.5. I don't have the lines out yet for the running backs because we don't know who's going to be available. But when I do post it, it will more than likely be either Irving or Rashad White's over in the rushing yards, just because that Buffalo defense can't be trusted against the run.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Excuse me. All right. Moving on, your next pick of the day in the 4:30 slot, Kansas City in Denver for a massive, massive game. This is going to be a great one. The Chiefs will be up by 17 points at the half, and Denver um, will have an opportunity to win the game. In the last drive of the fourth quarter, which seems to be how these games
Be there, I
go.
know, dude.
Um, all right. Chiefs minus 3.5, minus 120, plus 3.5 for the Broncos, minus 102, minus 215 for the Chiefs, plus 180 for the Broncos, over 44.5, minus 115, under is minus 105. And this is another one, man. Like, I think the Chiefs, tough loss against Buffalo. They had the bye week last week. I don't. I think they've looked a lot like better, right? I think Travis Kelsey's looked a lot better. Um, I still think that this spread and the money line, this is too much of the past for me. Like Denver's leading the division. They're winning football games. Yeah, they're not always the prettiest, but they're winning games. Um, to be plus 180 at home, I don't really care who you play. Like, it just doesn't feel right to me, which again can go one of either way. This is like just like jump on it, or the books are trying to warn you. It's one or the other. I do feel like this is Denver plus 3.5 territory. Denver has been winning and losing 3-point games all year long. So if I can be on the plus side of a Denver plus 3.5, then I'm going to take it. It feels like a slight over to me. I feel like both offenses are going to be able to put up points. But I will go Denver plus 3.5.
Listen, my rule of thumb with the Chiefs has always been is to fade them. Especially last year, they made me a lot of money me fading them against teams like the Raiders and teams like the Panthers. Um, and those teams both covered for me. This year, with what I'm seeing, the one stat that needs to be talked about here is something that you mentioned, which is they're coming from a bye. And anyone with the brainstem who knows football knows that Andy Reid coming off a bye is lights out. He's 9-3 with the Chiefs. I think overall, I think he's a 22-4 coming off a bye. So for me, it's Kansas City all the way without a doubt. Now, as far as the point total, that's going to be a little bit tough. Just because of what you said. Denver has been known to just kind of like backdoor their way into a game that they had no business being in to begin with. So minus 3.5 is interesting. Um, but I'm just I have the belief and the faith that where they're moving as far as like offensively speaking, I think they're with everyone healthy. Um, Now I don't know what the status of Josh Simmons is. I hope he plays. Um, but I'd have to check. I know he's not on IR, so I think he's just on a week to week right now. Um, I'm going Kansas City here, and I'm going to hope that Denver does not back their way into this thing. I'm gonna take a minus the 3.5. I think they win by at least a touchdown here, just because they've had 2 weeks to prepare. And what they're gonna see in that tape is the way teams are not closing the door on the Broncos. I think what they're focusing on is what's happening in the second half that they're doing that teams are not taking advantage of, or that Broncos are taking advantage of. And I think this defense will be able to stand that test. Um, I think they're going to want to focus on the run too, and I think Kansas City is still one of the better teams. They're in the top half of the league, top 10, I believe, against the rush, and I think they'll be able to. This feels like a Chris Jones game for me. I think a lot of people are fading him, especially with that one effort play that he called himself out weeks ago, as far as not chasing Trevor Lawrence as he's running into the end zone in the Jaguars game. This feels like a Chris Jones imprint game for me. As far as
Mm,
my prop pick, because of that same fact, I'm taking Bo Nix's under in the passing yards, 217 and a half.
okay. Okay. All right. Love it. Yeah, man. It's going to be a coin flip like either way. And that is a good point about Andy Reid with the bye. That has to factor into the number why it's so juicy. Because like beyond that, it just doesn't make sense to me. All right, Seattle Rams. Sneakily, like we got a lot of good games on the weekend. We've already talked about a lot of them. Tampa Bay, Buffalo, Kansas City, Denver, Detroit, Philly is going to be a great game. Sunday Night Football. We're going to talk about that one next. Seattle and Rams, dude. Like this is going to be a terrific football game. Even as an Eagles fan, like take away my fandom, I might be the most excited for this game. Like it's the Rams, who I picked to win this division before the season started. The Seahawks, I was high on the Seahawks, but they look phenomenal. And this is a game for the division lead, I believe. And it's going to be a phenomenal game, and I can't wait for it. Seattle in Los Angeles. I'm sure the Seattle fans will be representing in droves. -3 is -110. +3 is the same. -164 on the money line for the Rams. +138 for the Seahawks. The total 45.5. The over is -112. The under is -108. And I have a really, really hard time with this one. I really do. I think if you're talking on a week by week consistency basis, I trust this Seahawks offense a little bit more. You can't deny the Hall of Fame pedigree behind center with Matt Stafford. One of my favorite quarterbacks that I have watched throughout my football watching life. Obviously you got Puka, you got Adams. I think Puka's in, right? He is playing. The running game can be a little bit shaky with the Rams, but they do have guys back there. I just, Higbee, tight, like they got weapons. Something about this Seahawks offense, man. They just find a way to get it done. Darnold is doing it again. Really happy for him. And JSN is just a revelation, man. Like that guy is just incredible what he does week after week after week. The percentage of receptions that he has compared to the rest of the team is outrageous what this guy does. And every team knows it, and he still puts up numbers every single week. I really like Kenneth Walker with Charbonnet. I'm taking the points here. +3. There is a part of me that could be kind of, it's hard to go against the Rams in this spot. But I think this is as much of a show me game that you can have for a Seahawks team that already has a really good record. You're still kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off a little bit, right? You're waiting for Donald to come back down to earth. And now you're taking on the Rams for the division. No, obviously not for the division or for good, but so +3 is -110. +3.5, minus 132. Plus 4.5 is minus 154. And I don't love the number minus 154, but I don't mind it if you want to give yourself a little extra wiggle room here. But plus 3.5 minus 132, plus 4.5 minus 154. But I'm taking the Seahawks here with the plus points.
Hmm. Something's telling me that the Seahawks win this game. Like I just feel it in my soul that this is kind of like one of those games where Mac's gonna have these guys ready to go. He's gonna make it a point to be like, hey, these guys have been on top of this. You got Niners, the Rams. That's always the conversation when it comes to the West, and it feels like for a very long time the Seahawks have been kind of like the oh, that other team over there. Um, and I think this is the game where they can say, listen, enough with that noise. Like, we're here now. We've made the decisions that we've made to be in games like this and to prove that we belong here and that we're going to be making some noise while we're here. So I think this is a statement game for me. So much so that my lean is to go the other way. I'm gonna give them 2.5 points. I think we win by at least a field goal as far as the Seahawks are concerned.
Oh,
So
okay.
give me the plus money on that. Um, Now my prop pick is going to be in favor of Kyron Williams though, because that number was a very key number for me. Um, I'm taking his over in rushing at 59.5 yards. Now that might seem crazy because of how good Seattle is against the run, but he's hit that number in 8 out of 10 games, 7 out of 9 games this season. And so that tells me that he Stafford is going to want balance. McVay's going to want balance so that the play action game will be in effect, so that they can hit the play action um on with Devontae, with Puka. So I think they're going to run it enough. He'll get the volume enough to get to at least 60 yards. That for me was a low number, even with who they're facing. So I'm taking Kyron Williams over 59.5, but Seahawks win the game, and I'm taking them minus 2.5.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. Plus 164, by the way, on
Okay.
FanDuel for minus
W.
2.5. All right, let's wrap up this show. Get everyone sent off on their way for Thursday night football. Also, I just doing a quick check here. I just want to thank everybody, as always, for tuning in on Total Apex Sports and on my channel, Solder on Sports. Now, my apologies. I've been sick all week. My sleep schedule with work's been a disaster. My throat's starting to finally give out. But usually we do the show Wednesday nights. And when we have to postpone the show or do it Thursdays or a different time, the numbers kind of waver. Tonight, they're great. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us on a Thursday night. We really, really appreciate it. All right. Detroit at Philly. And we didn't really talk about this. Give me a quick, because I do want to talk about the Eagles Packers really quickly. So give me a quick, like 1 minute thought process on this. I loved Dan Campbell taking over the play calling. I know a lot of people were crapping on it. A lot of people didn't like it. Even before the game started, I really, really appreciated this move. Tell me your thoughts on that move. Clearly it worked. I know it was against not the best, opponent. But what did you think about Dan Campbell taking play calling? Because I loved it.
No, listen, I applaud it absolutely. Listen, no one knows the culture of the team or the inner workings of the team better than the head coach. I mean, he's in there and he's got eyes. He can, when he's reviewing the tape and looking over, the game as a whole, he's responsible for all aspects of the game. And I said this, when we talk about other coaches, as far as like, you know, um, are we going to blame Zach Taylor for everything that's happening with the Bengals? Well, his side of the ball is the offensive side, and they're producing. It's the defense that's the problem, but he's still responsible for everything. And so he's looking at his skill positions, and he's looking at what's happening offensively, and he's saying to himself, we're winning games, but I feel like we can make this easier on ourselves if I do this. I think we'll be better offensively if we do this, and maybe it's a cleaner operation if I take this over. And listen, he's not afraid to hurt any feelings, all right? He's not afraid to have the difficult conversations. But if it means the difference between them getting from here to the Super Bowl and not, if he feels like he's going to go that way, he's going to go that way, and he's not going to have a problem doing that. So I applaud that. Okay. But I also applaud the game that he called, right? Like,
Yes.
he takes over the play calling, and all of a sudden, Jameson Williams is 6 for a buck hundred, a buck over a buck, and a touchdown. So it's like, and you could tell how hyped he was about it, because
Yes.
if you see the footage of him getting off the sideline after celebrating with the boys on the end zone, he gave a dap to Dan, and then followed up with another one like, "Hey, I appreciate you getting me involved in the game, brother."
And dude, like my coaching staff on my fantasy team, they were both so happy and devastated because I have Williams, but we were playing Gibbs, who also went off for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I think that was a big thing. It's like you have guys like Williams. Like, why isn't Williams involved all the time? Yeah. And it's just, and like Gibbs too, man. Like Gibbs doesn't always have big games either. So I'm right there with you. All right.
Absolutely.
I quickly want to go back in time and talk about the Packers-Eagles game on Monday night.
Yeah.
I am an Eagles fan, and we got the win. This is not new to me. AJ Brown not being a factor in a game where you needed him to be a factor is incredibly frustrating, as I'm sure, and it's not AJ Brown's fault. And I'm sure everyone heard his comments on a Twitch stream and all this stuff. I love AJ Brown. I have his jersey. I hope he doesn't get himself shipped off this roster because I want him here and I love him on the Eagles. Now that conversation aside, the way the Eagles won that game isn't new to me. It can be frustrating to watch. I thought, both Joe and why am I blanking on the ESPN Monday Night Call?
Joe
Buck and Aikman. Yeah, Buck and Aikman. Yeah. I thought that they both explained it really well at the end of the first half, where it's like that might have been the most watchable 0-0 game that I've ever seen. It was actually a pretty fun game to watch. And then it kind of lost its shine as the game went on. But my point is this: the Eagles find ways to win those games. Do I love it? No. Is it encouraging as far as what the offense did? No. But I think that it hurt. It was way worse for the Packers. Like, at least the Eagles, you're a Super Bowl winner. This is how you've won games for the last 2 years, 3 years. For the Packers, dude, like, I don't even know what to think about this team anymore, man. And I said it before the season. I liked, I didn't love. And then I was like, wait, maybe I should have loved. And now I'm like, no. I was
right the whole time.
I was right about this team. I have no idea what is going on. The defense, they played great, The Eagles offense didn't operate very well either, but like the defense played great. But like Parsons has been like, I don't want to say like a non-factor, but I think he has 10 tackles all year and 6.5 sacks, which is like fine. But for a player of his magnitude and the hype that he brought with him, but listen, that's not even fair because the defense was not the problem in this game at all. Um, I don't know, man. What do you make? Like, who? I already kind of shared what I thought, but who should be more worried after that Monday night game, the Eagles or the Packers? Because I don't know. It didn't surprise me the Eagles' performance, but that Packers, I don't know, man.
Oh well, the Packers easily. And by that, so let me tell you kind of like what I've been watching and observing. So when we did our pregame shows, or not pregame, but like preseason shows, I said that the thing that would um the thing that would send Green Bay to the upper echelon for them, because they already had a great defense, was offensively to cut down on the turnovers, right? Now, what we're observing right now is I think what's happening with that offense is that I think they're being overly careful with Love to the
Yes.
point where like he's maybe not taking any risks versus taking smart risks with the football. Now I don't know if that's a him thing or if that's a Matt LaFleur thing. I don't know what is the thing, but Dan Orlovsky said something very interesting today in kind of like his assessment of what's going on there, and he said, "Listen, if I'm Matt LaFleur, or if I'm like in their hierarchy, I didn't pay Jordan Love $55 million a season to be careful. I paid him to be great. So let him be great and trust him to make the decisions with the football that he should be making with the football. Let him let it rip. Let's not be in abundance of careful where he's not, taking shots when maybe he should be taking shots. Um and so with that, I just think they need to open it up. Obviously don't stray away from, Josh Jacobs, because Josh Jacobs is, he's a touchdown machine. You get him inside the 20 more often than not, you're probably going to get in. And I do understand that, without Tucker Craft being out there, that's a weapon that now doesn't take as much attention away from
It's a
people
big
maybe looking
loss.
at your
Yep.
wideouts, right? So,
It's a big
um,
loss.
but I will say, like, I think they just really need to encourage him to let it rip. So that's why I think I'd be more concerned with the Packers, just because offensively they haven't looked great, and they're also in the tougher division, right? We're not worried about the Eagles not winning the NFC East. That's not been in question for some time. So that being said, because of that, we know they have an easy path into the playoffs. They're getting in the dance. We're not worried about that. And they have also had to deal with diva problems at the wideout position before, um, especially with how they played football last year, relying more on Gainwell and Barkley and the run game. So they've been doing this dance before. They know how to handle that internally. They'll be fine. I'd be more concerned with the Packers as far as moving forward. Um, that being said, leading into this game with the Lions and the Eagles, listen, I just think the Lions are just cooking on a level right now ever since that Green Bay game that they're just I just don't think they can be stopped. As good as the Eagles are, as good as they've been defensively, um, offensively is still a struggle. I confidently took the under on Barkley's yards last week. Like I had
Yep.
zero hesitation and
Yep.
taking the under for his yards. That's how um less I fear their offense than I did say last year, right? So because of that, I think the Lions take this one. I think they keep the pressure on the Green Bay Packers to keep up. I think they need it more, just to create some separation there. Because listen, that whole division, listen, Minnesota, you could say they're off and on as far as the quarterback position's concerned. Nothing to sneeze at. That Flores defense is legit. The Bears, they're much like this Eagles team. They will win ugly if they have to. It may not be pretty, but they have found a way to win games. And they're running that two-back system a lot like Ben Johnson liked to run with Gibbs and Montgomery, with Kyle and DeAndre. Kyle had like 170 something yards the week that Swift was out recently. So that two-back system can cook. So I just think the Lions need it more. That division is a lot more competitive. They're going to come with that fire, and I think the change in the offensive strategy is going to work in their favor. So give me the Lions here. I'm going to take the money line. Um, may take the minus the 2.5, like I did with the Seahawks. We'll see. Um, and then because of the issues that they're having offensively, as far as the Eagles are concerned, I'm taking Jalen Hurts under in passing yards, which is set at 214.5. I think that they're going to keep trying to win ugly. And if they're going to win this game, I don't think it's going to be on the arm of Jalen Hurts. I think they're going
Yeah.
to use his legs. They're going to use Barkley, um, Gainwell, Shipley, or not Gainwell, Shipley. Um, they're going to try to keep that Lions offense off the field. I think that's their best chance at not being exposed to that explosive offense. Just keep them off the field. And the way you do that is you got to run the ball effectively. And I think they're going to focus on the run this game.
Yeah, that's why I'm taking the under here in spades. Like I think so. Quickly to tee this up, minus 2.5, minus 114 for the Eagles, minus 106 for the plus 2.5 for the Lions. Like you said, money line Lions plus 120, minus 142 for the Eagles. The total is 46.5, minus 114, minus 106 for the under. I'm taking the under because that Eagles defense, dude, is phenomenal. And it has gotten better and better and better. Phillips fit in like a glove. And I know that the Packers had their issues, but that defense, man, Brandon Graham has come back and he hasn't been the world beater that he was, but he is doing his thing. Why they brought him back. I've been really, and this was the same thing I told you earlier in the year. This is the same thing we saw with Vic Fangio last season. It takes a few weeks for these newer players to get accustomed to the scheme, to get back into the thing, and once they get going, this defense is phenomenal, and they're showing it once again. I do think that if the Eagles are going to get beat, I think it's through the air. I don't think the running game is going to be as successful against this Philly team. I think that deep they can be beat though. Alexander, who they brought in, he's not going to be playing, as I think he's stepping away for like a family issue or something like that. I just think that it's going to be through the air, and when Goff has to throw a bunch of balls, I think that can kind of spell trouble for him sometimes. And so I do think either way this goes, I do think the under is the play here, which sounds crazy when you look at the talent that both teams have. It's like this total
we're coming off a game where Philly just scored 10, so not completely out of the realm.
So yeah, like I feel like this time last year, this total is like in the 50s. And
Yeah.
the fact that it's 46.5, that kind of speaks to me. So
Well,
I'm
half the Lions defensive roster wasn't playing last year.
yeah,
So.
that's true. That's true. Um, and so I am taking the under here. I I think you're on the right side of it. I do. As an Eagles fan, I will never say that out loud into a microphone that will be recording things for the rest of time. So I'll just keep that to myself, and
That's fine.
just take the under and
Yeah.
call it a day. Joe, speaking about calling it a day, bro, appreciate you. Thank you so
Yes,
much
sir.
for hanging out with me as
Thank you.
always every week. The NHL show will be back on Monday. We took a long hiatus from the NHL show. It'll be back on Monday. We will be back next Wednesday. So stay tuned to the Solder on Sports Podcast Network on YouTube, Solder on Sports on Twitter, and Total Apex Sports as well. One last time, FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10 for 10% off your order and up to 60% off selected cards. FirstRoundCollectibles.com, promo code SPORTS10, and Total Apex Sports, Total Apex Media. You need your DFS lineup set up for the weekend. Total Apex Sports. You need your fantasy roster, Total Apex Sports. You need betting tips, Total Apex Sports. Want to know about the game? Total Apex Sports. Have a great week, everybody. We will see you next time.